Breaking news, shocker, Alec Baldwin is charged again with involuntary manslaughter. We have lawyer Christopher Melcher here to break it down. Welcome to Popcorn Planet. I am Andy Signor. I can't say this is too surprising. We know that this was an option, but Christopher Melcher, so good to have you back, sir. How you been?
Well, I've been pretty good. Thanks for having me back on. It's been a while.
Yeah, I hope you had a wonderful holiday. It looks like Alec Baldwin's not going to be having a great start at 2024, though. I know both of us sort of predicted that this could very well happen. He was definitely trying to make sure this didn't happen. Definitely had some better lawyers the first time around and made the prosecution look pretty stupid, if I'm being honest. But now things have changed, and we're just finding out this afternoon that he will, in fact, be charged again with involuntary manslaughter. Now, before we get to these new updates, Chris, can you break down sort of the previous follies, if you will, of what happened last time and why they didn't stick?
Sure. So after a long investigation by the sheriff and the prosecutor in New Mexico, he was charged with involuntary manslaughter. And so were some other folks there that were involved. But eventually they dismissed the case against Alec, and there were a lot of missteps by the prosecution. It was honestly a hot mess, and they were extremely out-lawyered by Alec's attorneys. Now, the fact that they dismissed it doesn't mean that he was scot-free, and there were some indications that they might actually refile it. And if anyone's thinking about double jeopardy, that doesn't apply until the jury is selected. And that's when jeopardy attaches and you have to go forward. Okay, so here they dismissed it and they're still within the legal deadline to file, so they can just simply dismiss and refile. That's what's happened. A grand jury in New Mexico has indicted him for involuntary manslaughter and also like a negligent use of a firearm. So he'll be arraigned on those charges, and the case will start up again.
Now, we had some footage playing as you were talking, and this was something they put out there where it was like, here, look how safe Alec was on set, telling people, I'm not going to point this at you. I'm not going to do that. It just one of many examples where it seemed like his team was being proactively putting this stuff out or leaking things just to help from a PR perspective. Do you think any of this was hurting him and why the current prosecution was sort of getting frustrated? Because, I mean, from my experience watching it the first time, him doing that interview right away with George Stephanopoulos, the hubris, the arrogance of Alec Baldwin really didn't help matters. He was out there constantly trying to play the PR game, but a woman had lost her life, the director had gotten shot, and he was the one who was holding the trigger. He had to take some accountability, but it just seemed like he refused to do that, whether it was a legal reason, whatever those reasons were. But do you think all this play, the PR tactics, ultimately hurt him in the end, or do you think that's going to help him?
Oh, I think it's helped him out a lot because we've talked to a lot of people about this story, and a lot of folks will say actors are not gun experts. There's people on set that are trained to do that, and that's absolutely true. But the thing is that we have to also use common sense. Even actors have to use common sense on a set. And so when they're handed here a real firearm, so this wasn't a prop or a toy or a fake gun, it was a real instrument here. And, when you're handed that, as a responsible adult, that you either need to check it to make sure it's unloaded or to have somebody check that for you, like a prop master. Alec is a very experienced actor, would have gone through that process hundreds of times. But in this particular case, he was handled this real thing, pointed it at two people, and without checking it himself or without having anyone check it for him, and we know what happened. So that makes it a crime. It's not an accident. It's the failure to use due regard when using a deadly instrument. So it's very clear. Now, the thing is, on the PR side, initially, I mean, this is a horrible thing for Alec because obviously he had no intention to hurt anyone. And I think just to live with himself, he had to create this story that, I didn't even touch the trigger. Other people were responsible. I didn't even touch the trigger. And that's just not true. But I think that's a self-protective measure. Now, that clips that they leaked of the outtakes, those help and hurt. It helps them in a sense that it shows in this outtake that happened before the incident that he was pointing, this object around.
The clips obtained.
And So he's pointing this object around, and he told one of the crew members, he's saying, "Hey, get out of the way. You're in
News
the line of
show the
fire.
actor
You're in the
preparing for
line of what
scenes,
I'm doing."
firing weapons.
Yeah.
And so he was saying, like, "Hey, get out of, that's not safe where you are, because I'm holding this thing and I'm pointing it in your direction." That's good, because it shows that he cares and he knows about gun rules. It hurts him because it shows that he knows about gun rules, that this guy is not some kid who has never touched anything like this before. It
Right.
demonstrates that he knew how to safely handle something. And in this particular occasion, he was working too quick and nobody checked. And there was a live round in this thing, which is just absolutely unbelievable. And so I think it's a good charge. The only question is that is the prosecution team going to be better in
This
round
time.
two?
Well, and just to reiterate, because a lot of people, I know some people might be saying, well, it's not his fault, but let's be clear. I don't think any of us are implying he shot Hannah, or not Hannah,
Halyna.
sorry, Halyna, thank you. I don't think any of us are trying to imply that he shot Halyna on purpose, right? And that's the point of involuntary manslaughter, which again is just, it happens, right, Christopher? Like you can murder somebody by accident unintentionally but still be accountable, and I think that's what's so important for other people to understand. Is we've pushed this and beyond. I don't believe Alec meant to do this at all, but as you said, and we've said multiple times in our reporting, he had a duty as an actor, as an expert, as a producer to know better. And if he had just checked that chamber before he'd taken it from whoever, and apparently didn't even take it from the firearms expert, took it from the AD, which you never do on a set, guys. If he took all this so-called training and all this stuff, then he knew better, and this would have never happened. That's why we're frustrated. And so, yes, he has to bear some accountability, and he's been spending his fancy lawyers and doing all these PR plays to try to get away with it. And as you said, I think you're correct. There probably is some sort of trauma reaction or something to try to live with the fact of what he's done, which is horrific and terrible. And again, I don't believe he did intentionally. However, he needs to bear some responsibility. So now that this is going through again with that charge of involuntary manslaughter, it sounds like Hannah Gutierrez-Reed, the armorer, is also being charged. There was, I heard talk, and one of them that there was apparently some drama because they offered her a deal. They said, if you tell us where those live rounds came from, we'll give you a lesser deal. And then she didn't, but then her lawyers are like, well, look, they're trying to threaten me. Clearly they want me to falsify where I got those things. This is unfair. Of course, I'm pleading the fifth. Do you think any of that's going to harm or come into this play as with now what we know and who's charged? The AD is not getting charged with a full extent, will not see jail time because he cooperated and he pled guilty. What do you think about the whole team of players here? What do you think is going to happen in round two?
Yeah, I mean, I think, like you say, there has to be accountability because these type of things have happened before, and they'll just keep happening again until people take them seriously enough and saying, wow, I don't want to go to jail, so I'm actually going to take a half a second and check here. Now, so the first assistant director took a plea deal, no jail time, and so he's out. He'll have to cooperate and testify. The armorer, look, she's small fry, but ultimately, bears the greatest responsibility here because that was her job to do this. And the only reason why there should never be a live round on the set. That's just absolutely inexcusable. So she bears the greatest responsibility and obviously has the least ability to hire, fancy lawyers like Alec does. So, they'll go to trial. They'll go to trial together. And Alec will make all these attempts to, have the case dismissed or reduced, whatever it's going to be. But I don't see him taking a plea deal. My sense is that he is going to take it to trial, and because he cannot accept that he is responsible. Again, it's his narrative is that it's everyone else's fault, and he didn't do anything wrong. So I think it's going to take 6 months to a year to get to that point, but I think it will go to trial.
They said they interviewed lots of people, crew members, and so on. So they did do their homework. They really looked into it this time around, and they, knowing that this was previously thrown out, they decided, no, we're going to put Alec on it again as well with Hannah Gutierrez-Reed. So be very interesting to see where it goes. So this will go to trial. Is the next steps for us to sort of, as we plan and cover, next step in this is what, Christopher?
Well, so he has to be brought before the court, informed of the charges. He'll make a plea. He's going to make, motions to dismiss. He's going to make a lot of hay out of the fact that, there was this prior prosecution that was dismissed. There was also the condition of the, firearm. There was some testing done of it that may have altered it. So, but ultimately, those are trial issues. That's for the jury to determine. But his attorneys are going to make every effort to, keep this from going to trial. And then eventually there will be a trial. I think they would offer him a no jail time plea deal, but I don't think he's going to accept that, is my sense. And, but, like I say, this is, legal time moves slowly. So we're going to have to wait a bit to figure all this out.
Yeah, and apparently the rumor is, he's appearing in a video here to sell his Hamptons home for $19 million, with many implying that he's now not being able to get work because of this charge and everything else. So this is a costly endeavor now at this point. He's already spent a lot of money with high-powered lawyers, so now he's going to have to put his $19 million Hamptons home on the market to pay for that. Is that enough? We just saw Prince Harry just lost 750 million pounds by pulling out of his lawsuit. How much does a case like this truly cost somebody?
Well, it's an amazing amount of money. I mean, he has, Quinn Emanuel. I mean, these are the most expensive lawyers. And so his fees will be millions and, $5 million, $10 million in legal fees. But there also is a lot of insurance around. So the production company has insurance. Alec personally has insurance. They're going to pick up, a good part of this, whatever up to their coverage. So, I don't know that he's spent, how much of that on his own yet versus the insurance company. We saw with all these other cases, in Amber and stuff like that they turn it over to the insurance. Insurance is going to pay. He may have to pay a premium for Quinn Emanuel because they're going to say we're not going to pay those rates. So he may be kicking in some dough, but I don't think he's selling a house because of this. I think he's got a good amount of insurance, and
that might just be optics to show, look, I'm a victim. I'm running out of money. Maybe that's all what it is. Who knows? If he had just come out the gate day one, crying, upset, I feel terrible. I don't know how this happened. I'm horrified. I want to know what happened. If you think he had done that and sort of owned it and like, I don't know, I have to bear the responsibility. I don't know what else. Do you think that would have actually helped him in the long run?
I mean, in my mind it would, but like, I do understand, like I say, how he was traumatized by this. And I think highly distraught. So, I don't pretend to know how, any of us, would handle something like that. But
I mean, you don't go on George Stephanopoulos and do an hour-long interview defending yourself if you're distraught.
Yeah, that was horrible. And I think that I didn't like that at all. But in terms of whether he could have said anything to avoid the prosecution, no. And the reason is that, when you look at Brandon Lee, I mean, similar circumstance, it's like, how many of these incidents have to happen and for actors and producers to say, oh, it's just a mistake. Oh, I feel so badly. Let me do a public apology and move forward with my life. No, I mean, there has to be accountability, so that this does not happen to innocent people going forward. So to me, nothing he could have said would change the need for accountability.
Yeah, it's
and
weird.
I'm not saying jail time. Just he should, take a guilty plea or be found guilty. I'm not necessarily saying he goes to jail, but there has to be, a determination here, whether by agreement or jury, saying he was reckless to the extent that this is not an accident, it's a crime.
Right, and that would hopefully scare other actors who are of this ilk to at least be like, you can't just take the gun from the AD anymore and quick, gotta get the shot, which is what happened on this set. Let's keep it honest. And that's what a life could have been spared had he not just done that. So it is important he takes that accountability. And I'm sure Hollywood's noticing, and no actor wants to have the Alec Baldwin treatment right now. So I'm sure many actors are looking at those arms. And I know a lot of them are using rubber ones now because they're just afraid to even have that. You do it all in post. So I do think it seems like this has made an impact. But yes, we still need Alec to take some accountability. So well said, Christopher. If you guys want to follow his insight, he does get some good threads going over on Twitter, on X. I can't believe I have to call it X. No. CA_divorce, though, I'm going to keep calling it Twitter. Over on Twitter to find him. Always a pleasure, sir. We got some more stuff in the bank, guys. Stay tuned. We'll see Christopher here again. But welcome back anytime, sir. Let us know if you need anything. Enjoy the rest of your 2024. And the rest of you, make sure you're subscribed and following his feed, our channel, all of it. Hit that bell for alerts so you get notified. Let us know if you want us to keep following this case as well, and we'll keep you updated on all the breaking celebrity news and pop culture. Thank you guys so much for watching, and stay tuned for more.